A powerful Force-sensitive Itachi female, born with a talent for telepathy and precognition, the Huntress as she was known, enhanced her skills and tracking abilities through the dark side, becoming an expert assassin with an unblemished 5-year record, successfully completing every contract no matter the difficulty. A wealthy, successful, independent professional, the Huntress was nonetheless unfulfilled, as she felt so full of potential, yet reached the limits of what could be self-taught. Yet the opportunity to acquire a dark side master soon presented itself when she was hired for a pair of jobs by the royal house of Doan. Originally tasked to eliminate a specific rebel miner by the royal bodyguard Lucia for the sake of her friend, the Princess of Doan, the Huntress ended up killing both the target and the Jedi Med Tandar, who was there attempting diplomacy. Though this complicated matters for the royal family, her obvious skill impressed the princess when she learned what occurred, leading to a second, more challenging contract, this time tasked to track down and capture the man responsible for her father's death. Having this discussion on the dark side planet of Ambria, where the murder occurred, the force powers and natural precognitive abilities of the Huntress allowed her to easily identify the culprit as Darth Bane. Sensing his great power, she was hesitant to take the job, but the princess offered 10 times her normal rate and a special neurotoxin to ensure he was rendered unconscious. The Huntress agreed, on the condition she also provided 20 experienced soldiers for the mission. Setting a trap for Bane in his mansion on Sutric 4, the Dark Lord put up a fierce resistance that left 6 soldiers dead, until the Senflax neurotoxin at last took effect and knocked him unconscious. Holding him prisoner on Doan, Bane eventually escaped thanks to the help of the bodyguard Lucia, who recognized him as her beloved, heroic former sergeant in the Sith army to whom she owed her life. Aware of what was happening and formulating a plan of her own, the Huntress made her way to the ship hangar, where she found the Dark Jedi Set Hearth trying to steal her vessel. Set Hearth came with Bane's apprentice Darth Zana, but was now trying to flee on his own. Fighting to a stalemate, she allowed him to leave on another ship before Darth Bane arrived to complete his escape. Kneeling in submission, the Huntress returned his lightsaber and holocron, while offering her loyalty and devotion if he would take her on as a student and teach her the ways of the Sith. Explaining that her life had no purpose and she was plagued with visions of Bane, meaning their destinies must be intertwined. Accepting her as a Sith apprentice, she was first tasked with executing her former employer, the Princess of Doan, after which he explained the ways of their order and the tradition of taking a new name, causing her to become Darth Cognus of the Sith. Learning of the rule of 2, Cognus promised she would not interfere when Bane's former apprentice Darth Zena arrived to fight him in single combat for the leadership of their order. When she arrived, Bane explained that Cognus was devoted to the dark side and would serve as the new Sith apprentice to whoever was victorious. Agreeing, she faced off against Bane in a brutal duel that ended with Zena victorious, who then took on Cognus as her apprentice. Serving loyally under Zena for many years, Cognus eventually surpassed her master and became the new leader of their order. Having trained directly under Bane and Zena, witnessing their great power, Cognus was fiercely devoted to the rule of 2 and Banite Lineage, choosing Darth Millennial as her apprentice and heir. Yet he was of a different mind, believing the rule of 2 limited their potential, constantly questioning this philosophy. Outraged by his heresy, Cognus banished Millennial from the Order and took on a new apprentice who successfully continued the Banite line. Millennial, meanwhile, fled to the world Droman Kos, where he founded the Dark Force, a cult he ruled as supreme prophet of the dark side. A shrewd, cunning, intelligent man overseeing Jonek's Mine 811b in the asteroid belt near the planet Bimiel, the administrator was a wise, successful businessman whose life was primarily focused on financial gain, while also recognizing that a balanced, moderate lifestyle was also necessary to keep him fulfilled, well-adjusted, and at his most productive. Yet the administrator's life took an unforeseen turn when the mining crew and office staff started acting and feeling strange in response to working in a new region. Launching an investigation, the administrator not only learned that the asteroid was steeped in the dark side, but that he was highly force-sensitive, able to gain new skills and enhance himself through this energy. Shutting down operations in the area, the administrator kept it a secret, returning as often as possible to study the energy and grow his abilities. When the region was no longer deemed lucrative for large mining operations, the administrator arranged for the asteroid to be closed off, in the hopes no one else would discover his secret. Reaching the limits of what could be self-taught, the administrator eventually left his old life behind to seek out the Sith Order. Succeeding in his mission, he found the Banite Master and was deemed worthy as an apprentice, becoming Darth Vectivus of the Sith Order. Learning the rule of two and ways of their people, Vectivus eventually surpassed his master, became the new Dark Lord, and returned to the asteroid where his dark side journey began. Building a great mansion where he spent the rest of his life, Vectivus devoted himself to scholarly work, studying the dark side energy of the asteroid and making profound discoveries. A powerful Dark Lord, continuing the legacy of Darth Bane, Vectivus was a unique individual who differed greatly from other Sith of the past, as he did not leave his old life behind entirely, instead melding his business acumen and general life philosophies with his dark side training. As a result, Vectivus cared nothing for violence, war, conquest, or the eternal feud with the Jedi, instead focusing his attention on what truly mattered to him as an individual, which in the past was financial gain, now replaced by research and personal growth as a dark side disciple. Therefore, as was the case in his previous life, this primary goal was accompanied by a balanced social and family life, which ensured he remained grounded, well-adjusted, and at his most productive. Perhaps the greatest of his accomplishments, Vectivus learned to cast force phantom projections over vast distances by tying them to the life energy of a living being. This meant that if a phantom was killed, so too was the living being to which it was connected. This ability, as well as other teachings, philosophies, and tips for financial success, were recorded in his personal holocron, which eventually came into the possession of the new Sith Order centuries later. Though it cannot be said Vectivus was particularly kind, as he was still a Darksider willing to kill or take ruthless action when necessary. Vectivus was remarkably disciplined and wise, able to live a long, happy life as Dark Lord until he died of old age, surrounded by friends and family. Preserving his legacy through the Banite line then ended when Darth Sidious destroyed the Jedi and Republic. Vectivus was used as a shining example for future generations that a Sith could be ruthless, self-interested, and powerful without being cruel or overtly violent. Remembered as the Sith who did no evil, his home was eventually discovered by the Dark Lady Lumia, a powerful Force user trained by both Darth Sidious and Darth Vader. Studying the dark energy of the asteroid, Lumia soon made a startling discovery when she found the spirit of Darth Vectivus in the lower levels of his home. A true master of the dark side, Vectivus found a way to preserve his consciousness in spirit form, while also preserving some of his power by using the same force projection technique he mastered during his life, tying his phantom spirit to a living being out in the galaxy. Yet despite this accomplishment, Vectivus claimed this form of existence was not ideal, as he had no awareness of self, and after so many years, was no longer sure if he was himself, something else, or nothing at all. Yet Lumia greatly admired the Dark Lord and used him as an example to lure Jacen Solo to the dark side, training him to become Darth Caedus, Dark Lord of the Sith Order, who then modeled his rule after the enlightened self-interest of Vectivus. When the Dark Lord's asteroid home was found and explored by the Jedi Nalani Din, she too was approached by the spirit of Vectivus, who informed her phantom force projections were tied to living beings, meaning that for every one she killed, an innocent also died. Vectivus then tested her by suggesting she kill his phantom, that way his teachings, like force projection, would not spread and take innocent lives. But the Jedi could not do it, as his spirit was also tied to an innocent that she could not bring herself to harm. Vectivus then warned that her weakness would lead to her death if she continued to meddle in the affairs of others. Yet she did not listen, and died at the hands of Jacen Solo while trying to arrest Lady Lumia. Later, the home of Vectivus was destroyed by agents of the One Sith Empire under Darth Krayt to prevent the Jedi from discovering the ancient Dark Lord's secrets. A special thanks to all those who contribute to Civilization X, like Tim, Sir Joe, Wartfoot of the North, The Drunken Master, and Sir Loin, Werebear of the Great North. If you'd like to help the channel, be sure to give a like, leave a comment, and click on the links below, or else go to patreon.com/civilizationx, where you can gain early access to videos, vote on future content, and watch the Patreon-only series, Heroes of Lore and Legend.